The relationship between America and Canada. It's a sibling rivalry. One has nukes, the other, universal healthcare and maple syrup. For decades, we've shared the world's longest undefended border and a trade relationship so tangled, it makes a Nolan film look simple. We send them Hollywood blockbusters, they send us Ryan Reynolds. Fair trade, right? But in 2026, the US shocked no one by slapping bans on key Canadian imports. Think, sorry, your lumber isn't welcome here. This wasn't a minor tiff, it was economic warfare. Polite but pointed. Canada didn't just apologize and move on, they hit back with their own list of banned American goods. So grab your poutine or freedom fries, and let's dive into why Canada banned these American products. Where do you hit America where it hurts? The dairy aisle. It's not just a section in the supermarket, it's a symbol of everyday life, a staple in fridges across the continent, and a point of pride for both nations. Canada's first move was bold and unmistakable. Ban American dairy products at the border. Suddenly, the flow of milk, cheese, and yogurt from the US came to a screeching halt. For years, the US had complained about Canada's dairy supply management, calling it unfair and protectionist. Trade talks were tense, and dairy was always a sticking point. So, when the US targeted Canadian goods, Canada fired back. No more Wisconsin cheddar or California yogurt. Shelves went local overnight, and familiar brands vanished in a flash. Canadian dairy farmers celebrated, demand soared, and a dairy boom began. For them, it was a rare moment in the spotlight, and their products were suddenly in high demand. The government called it a win for sovereignty and local industry, touting the move as a way to protect Canadian jobs and traditions. But city consumers noticed their grocery bills climbing. Canadian dairy is pricier, and now, there were no cheap American options. Suddenly, a simple block of cheese felt like a luxury item. Suddenly, everyone was flying first class, whether they wanted to or not. The price of a latte or a pizza slice crept up, and people started to grumble. Urbanites grumbled into their lattes, rural regions cheered. The divide between city and country grew sharper, as each side felt the impact in different ways. Some even hoarded American cheese, creating a black market for craft singles. Smuggling cheese became a punchline and a reality. Protectionism protected farmers, but consumers paid the price. The policy was a shield for some, but a burden for many. The government tried to spin it with heartwarming ads about happy cows and local pride, hoping to ease the sting at the checkout. Meanwhile, U.S. dairy states like Wisconsin lost a major market overnight. Factories slowed, and cheese began to pile up in warehouses. American farmers faced surpluses and plummeting prices. The pain was real, and the uncertainty grew with each passing week. The ban's ripple effects were immediate. Real people, real jobs, and pricier cheese. The consequences stretched from rural barns to urban checkout lines. Economists debated the merits and costs, but for most, it was simple. Canadians paid more, Americans lost out, and the trade war was suddenly personal. And this was just the start. The headlines hinted at more to come, and tension simmered on both sides of the border. Next up, the battle over lumber. If dairy was emotional, lumber was foundational, because nothing says trade war like a fight over wood. The stakes were about to get even higher. The dairy ban was just the opening act. The real drama was about to move from the fridge to the very framework of our homes, affecting builders, buyers, and families everywhere. The next target? American lumber. The border was about to get even busier, and as we all know, nothing gets Canadians and Americans riled up like a good old-fashioned lumber dispute. Stay tuned, the trade war was just heating up. If dairy was about protection, the lumber ban was pure payback. The US and Canada have a long history of trade disputes, but the lumber feud stands out. The US-Canada lumber feud is legendary. Decades of accusations over subsidies and unfair competition. Each side claims the other is playing dirty. When the US doubled down on Canadian lumber bans, Canada got creative. They had to find a way to retaliate without hurting their own economy. They couldn't ban much raw American lumber. They barely import it. So, they had to think outside the box. So, they targeted finished wood products, high-end cabinets, hardwood flooring, specialty lumber. These products are more valuable and hit American businesses where it hurts. It was a surgical strike, hitting politically sensitive US regions. The goal was to create enough pressure to force a change. Officially, Canada cited environmental concerns and chemical standards. They argued that American wood products didn't meet their stringent regulations. Suddenly, American wood products were unsafe for Canadian homes. This move was both strategic and symbolic. Small U.S. businesses lost their biggest export market overnight. Many were left scrambling to find new buyers. In Canada, builders scrambled for alternatives, driving up costs and delaying projects. The impact was felt across the construction industry. The ban rippled through supply chains, affecting everyone from architects to electricians. The entire industry was thrown into disarray. Politicians on both sides traded barbs, each blaming the other for unfair practices. The rhetoric grew increasingly heated. The paperwork and reports piled up, but the real impact was on workers and businesses caught in the crossfire. Lives and livelihoods were at stake. It was a high-stakes game of chicken. Who would blink first? Both sides were waiting for the other to make a move. Canada hoped targeted pain would bring the U.S. to the table. They wanted to negotiate a fairer deal. The U.S. bet Canada would cave to its own construction industry. They believed the pressure would be too much for Canada to bear. Meanwhile, ordinary people just wanted to build homes and get back to work. The dispute was far from their minds, but its effects were unavoidable. The lumber war showed how deeply intertwined and vulnerable our economies really are. The stakes were high for both nations, and the next move would hit even closer to home medicine. The battle was far from over. Next, Canada took aim at American pharmaceuticals, a move that would send shockwaves through both countries' health systems and political landscapes. For years, Americans have crossed the border for cheaper Canadian meds, filling prescriptions at a fraction of U.S. prices, and fueling a quiet but steady cross-border trade. But despite this, Canada barely imports U.S. drugs directly, so when it came time to retaliate, they got specific, targeting the real arteries of the pharmaceutical trade. The ban zeroed in on certain over-the-counter meds and, more importantly, the chemical ingredients, known as APIs, manufactured in the U.S. and sold to Canadian drug makers. These ingredients are the backbone of countless medications. Officially, the government claimed it was about supply chain security and national health, arguing that Canada needed to protect its own medicine supply from foreign disruptions. In reality, it was a calculated shot at Big Pharma, one of Washington's most powerful and deep-pocketed lobbies, with the potential to stir up political trouble at home. Suddenly, U.S. pharmaceutical companies lost major contracts overnight, leaving factories idle and executives scrambling for answers. Lobbyists flooded Capitol Hill, demanding an end to the trade war, warning of job losses and drug shortages if the standoff continued. Canada had weaponized American special interests, turning the pharmaceutical industry's influence against their own government in Washington. Canadian drug makers scrambled to find new suppliers or ramp up production of ingredients at home, facing a race against time to keep shelves stocked. The government quickly offered incentives and funding to build domestic API plants, hoping to secure the country's pharmaceutical future. Some over-the-counter meds disappeared temporarily, replaced by new Canadian brands as local manufacturers rushed to fill the gaps. U.S. Pharma responded with a wave of fear-based ads, warning about the dangers of unsafe, non-American ingredients and stoking public anxiety. Canada countered with patriotic ads, celebrating self-reliance, national health security, and the importance of supporting Canadian-made medicine. The ban was less about medicine and more about leverage, forcing Big Pharma to pressure Washington and showing that Canada could hit where it hurt most. It turned a simple trade spat into a high-stakes battle over national security, public health, and the future of North American pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceutical ban proved Canada was willing to play hardball, and no industry, no matter how powerful, was safe from becoming a bargaining chip. But the next front in this escalating trade war would be even fishier, setting the stage for a new kind of showdown. Think the trade war was running out of steam? Think again. Canada's next move: ban certain American seafood, Alaskan pollock, Maine lobster, Gulf shrimp. The official reason: environmental concerns. Canada accused U.S. fisheries of overfishing, bycatch, and habitat destruction. Environmental groups were torn. The issues were real, but the timing was suspicious. In reality, it was targeted retaliation, hitting politically sensitive states. The ban devastated U.S. coastal communities reliant on seafood exports. Boats docked, processing plants laid off workers. Canadian seafood producers cheered. Less competition, higher prices. But Canadian processors and consumers faced higher costs and shortages. The debate devolved into dueling scientific reports and accusations of hypocrisy. Environmental standards became weapons in a trade war. The price of fish sticks in Calgary suddenly depended on a dispute over lumber in Oregon. The seafood ban showed how trade wars twist real issues, like sustainability, into economic weapons. And the final ban? It was the sweetest and pettiest of all. The final, most symbolic ban, American maple syrup. Yes, Canada, the world's syrup superpower, banned US syrup. Economically, it was a drop in the bucket, but symbolically, it was a masterstroke. In the US, most people shrugged. In Canada, it sparked national pride and viral memes. Suddenly, everyone was a defender of Canadian syrup supremacy. The government claimed it was about purity standards, implying American syrup wasn't the real deal. US producers protested, but Canadians cheered. The ban became a rallying cry, uniting the country in sticky solidarity. It was a PR win. No one gets fired up about lumber tariffs, but everyone cares about their pancakes. The syrup ban was the perfect, absurd symbol of the trade war. Two close allies, now fighting over breakfast. The maple syrup standoff was a reminder. Trade wars are as much about national identity as economics. And sometimes the pettiest moves make the biggest splash. So, here we are, at the end of a sticky, cheesy, fishy trade war. One protectionist move triggered a cascade of bans, disrupting businesses and raising prices. Trade wars have no real winners, just higher costs and fewer choices. Rebuilding trust will take more than lifting bans. It'll require real commitment to fair trade. Will leaders have the courage to de-escalate, or are we stuck in a cycle of economic tit-for-tat? This saga is a lesson in how interconnected our world really is. What do you think? Were Canada's bans clever or reckless? Which surprised you most? Let us know in the comments. We read them, especially the angry ones.